Iran has been a very dangerous player, very bad player. They're a nation of terror, and we won't put up with it.
President Trump sounding off on the escalating tensions with Iran moments ago as the Pentagon is weighing possible troop deployment to the Middle East. Let's bring in Peter Brookes, senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. What do you make of the recent troop movements and what the president has said he's willing to do?
Well, Melissa, they're talking about sending an additional 10,000 troops. We have about 15,000 troops in the region on a day-to-day basis. We're moving in an aircraft carrier. That's another 5,000 or more. And then you're talking about perhaps another 10,000. Now, that decision has not been made. So we increased our troop presence by 33% from 15 to 20,000. And then we're talking about practically doubling our troop presence in the Middle East to potentially 30,000. This is about signaling. This is telling Iran that you should not do some of the things that you may be thinking about doing. It's to deter them. It's to dissuade them from taking actions against our interests in the Middle East. Now, we're not really quite sure exactly which interests were threatened. I sense it had something to do with our diplomatic facilities, our diplomats, and our soldiers in Iraq. Yeah. Based on Secretary Pompeo's trip there, the secret mission. It wasn't secret after he got there, but when he went there, the fact that we're concerned about paramilitary units in Iraq, the drawdown of American forces or American diplomats, non-essential personnel at American diplomatic facilities in Iraq. So that's potentially what it's about. But this is to tell Iran, you don't want to cross this line, and we're ready to double down if we need to with military force.
So the way the administration kind of paints the picture of what happened, you know, they were taking advantage of basically everyone under the Iran deal, and they were using whatever monies that were coming in to fund terror and still keeping up their activity while maybe going along with the barest minimum of the nuclear deal, who knows. But when the president came in and took the deal away, that their economy was then in a free fall. You know, there were inflation, a lot of economic pressure. As a result, they began threatening and, you know, threatening to lash out in a military sense. And that's why now, to create even more pressure, he's moved into the region. First of all, do you agree with that sort of characterization of what's happened so far? And does that make you feel like we're getting closer to a political diplomatic solution or closer to war?
I don't think we're waltzing towards war, Melissa. I think we're in a very tense situation. The United States is sending some very strong signals to Iran that you do not want to cross these lines and take some sort of action against U.S. interests in that part of the world. The idea of the maximum pressure campaign by the Trump administration is to bring Iran back to the table to address some of the things and other things that you talked about, such as their ballistic missile program, the fact that they can do advanced research on centrifuges, and the concern, obviously, about Iran getting a lot of money in its pockets that it can use not only to support groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, but for military modernization. You know, just recently, they're also supporting the Houthi rebels in Yemen and, of course, the Syrian regime in the Syrian civil war in Damascus. So this is, you know, there's a lot of concerns. Iran is a significant threat to international security, and the administration is showing that they're serious about countering that threat to American interests.
What could a political solution possibly look like, though? I mean, I've heard a lot of people today say that's what we're driving towards, to get them back to the table. But if their goal is death to the West, death to America, death to Israel, it's not like they're going to back off that. Right.
Well, you make a good point, and this is a heavy lift. I mean, this is in the same category as North Korea, with different elements, obviously, especially the terrorism element that we see out of Iran and in a different part of the world. But yes, this is a heavy lift. Their regime is very anti-American. It's built itself on being anti-American and anti-West. So it's going to be very hard for them to change their behavior. But in the meantime, while we're trying to encourage them to do so, we have to protect our interests. And that includes doing things on the political scale, economically, and, of course, if necessary, militarily. So this is a significant challenge. Up there with North Korea, Russia, and China, I would say these are the 4 top foreign policy challenges that the United States faces.
Peter Brookes, always brilliant. Thank you. Appreciate your time.